Hey everyone, I'm working to hit 1,000 subscribers and I need your help to get there. If you enjoy this content, please hit that subscribe button right now.
When Caleb Williams was at the podium today, he was asked about the hard coaching that Ben Johnson gave to him throughout the 2025 season. And 2 days after that final game against the Rams, Caleb shared that Ben told him, "It's going to be more difficult this season. I'm going to push you more." And Caleb's simple answer to that was, "Yes, sir. Let's do it." Caleb understands that if he wants to reach his ultimate goal of winning a Super Bowl, he needs to be
fourth quarter comebacks. 8 in a single NFL season, and the man delivering them was a second-year quarterback on a franchise that has spent the better part of 4 decades finding creative new ways to break the hearts of everyone who dares to love them. You just heard it stated as undisputed fact, and you know what? AJ LeMaestro is here to tell you that it absolutely is. Caleb Williams is the real deal, Chicago. And the question that every Bears fan, every NFL analyst, and frankly, every opposing defensive coordinator in this league needs to be sitting with right now is this: is the Chicago Bears roster, as currently constructed, Super Bowl caliber? Not almost. Not trending in that direction. Not a piece or two away. Super Bowl caliber. Right now. Today. I am AJ LeMaestro, and you are locked into Chicago Bears Hub, the channel that asks the questions nobody else has the guts to ask, and gives you the answers nobody else has the courage to deliver. So if you found this video because you bleed navy and orange and you cannot stop thinking about what this team is capable of in 2026, you are in exactly the right place. Let us get into it. Now, this entire conversation was sparked by something that former NFL executive and one of the most respected draft analysts in the business, Daniel Jeremiah, put out publicly. According to Jeremiah's framework for evaluating roster construction, building a genuine championship foundation requires filling 12 specific spots. 1 quality quarterback, 3 good offensive playmakers, 3 quality offensive linemen, 2 good pass rushers, and 3 defensive playmakers. That is the blueprint. That is the checklist. And what AJ LeMaestro is going to do for the next several minutes is walk you through each one of those checkboxes and tell you, with complete honesty and zero sugarcoating, where the Chicago Bears stand. Because some of this is going to make you feel absolutely incredible about this football team, and some of it is going to make you deeply uncomfortable. And all of it is the truth. Let us start with the quarterback, because everything in the National Football League starts and ends with the quarterback. Does Caleb Williams check the box? And my answer, my personal, unfiltered AJ LeMaestro answer, is yes. But I want to be precise about what I mean when I say yes, because this is not a blind, Homer, rose-colored glasses yes. This is an evidence-based yes. 8 fourth-quarter comebacks in his second NFL season. Let that number wash over you for a moment. 8 times last year, this team was in a position where they needed their quarterback to rise above the moment, block out the noise, ignore the pressure, and deliver. And 8 times, Caleb Williams delivered. That is not a fluke. That is not a coincidence. That is a pattern. That is a character trait. That is the kind of competitive DNA that you simply can't manufacture or develop through film study and practice reps. Either a quarterback has that wiring or he does not. And Caleb Williams clearly, demonstrably, statistically has it. Now, does that mean he is Patrick Mahomes right now? No. Does that mean he is Josh Allen right now? No. And I want to be honest about that, because pretending otherwise does not serve you. It does not serve this team, and it does not serve the very real and very exciting developmental arc that this young man is on. There are still areas of consistency to iron out. There are still moments across the full 60 minutes of a game where Williams needs to be sharper, more decisive, more disciplined. Anyone who watched every snap of last season knows that is true. But here is the critical distinction that I think gets lost in the Caleb Williams discourse. And there is always Caleb Williams discourse because this is Chicago and controversy is practically written into the city charter. The standard is not whether he is already the best quarterback in the NFL. The standard, as Jeremiah's framework lays it out, is whether you can win a Super Bowl with him as your quarterback. And the answer to that question, based on everything we saw last year, is an unambiguous yes. Buckle up, Chicago, because the quarterback conversation is settled as far as A.J. LeMaestro is concerned. Now let us talk offensive playmakers, because this is where this Bears roster genuinely starts to get scary for the rest of the NFC. 3 good offensive playmakers needed to check this box. Does Chicago have them? Absolutely, emphatically, without question, yes. And the depth here is not just adequate, it is genuinely enviable by league-wide standards. Cole Kmet at tight end is the place to start, because Kmet has established himself as one of the premier receiving tight ends in all of professional football. He is the kind of weapon that defensive coordinators lose sleep over, because you cannot cover him with a linebacker, and you cannot afford to take a safety out of the box to follow him without opening up something else entirely. Kmet alone checks one of your 3 playmaker boxes with room to spare. Then you have Rome Odunze. Then you have Luther Burden III. Then you have DeAndre Swift, who played like a man possessed last season and reminded everyone in this league exactly what kind of weapon he can be when used correctly in the right offensive system. And then, and this is where it gets really interesting, you have Kyle Monangai, who produced nearly 1,000 all-purpose yards as a 7th-round rookie, a 7th-round pick. Nearly 1,000 all-purpose yards. Do you understand how remarkable that is? This kid was essentially an afterthought on draft weekend, and he showed up and produced at a level that most 2nd and 3rd-round picks would be proud of. And he is just getting started. The Bears traded DJ Moore this offseason, and I know that move still stings for some people in this fan base. Moore was a legitimate contributor and a respected veteran presence in that locker room. But the reason that trade made sense, and I believe it did make sense, is that this roster has an abundance of offensive weaponry. You are not trading from a position of desperation when you move a player like Moore. You are trading from a position of strength. You have so many weapons that you can afford to move one and still check the 3 playmaker box with names left over. That is a genuinely enviable problem to have. So offensive playmakers, yes. Hard? Yes. No asterisk required. 3 quality offensive linemen. And this one requires a little bit of nuance, but the answer is still yes. Joe Thuney is one of the best guards in the National Football League. That is not a Chicago homer take. That is a league-wide consensus opinion. Darnell Wright has developed into a legitimate, reliable, high-quality right tackle. And Jonah Jackson, when healthy and playing at the level he showed last year, is a well-above-average guard who absolutely qualifies as that 3rd-quality offensive lineman. 2 elite blockers and 1 very good one. Jeremiah's framework is satisfied, box checked. Now, the Drew Dolman retirement is worth acknowledging because it did create some uncertainty in the interior. Dolman was a legitimate piece of this offensive line, and losing him to retirement rather than through a trade or free agency departure stings in a different way because there is no compensation, no return, nothing to show for it. He is just gone. But here's where A.J. LeMaestro asks you to look at the full picture rather than fixating on the loss. Logan Jones has the potential to develop into something genuinely special at center long term, and the organization clearly believes in him. Garrett Bradbury is an experienced veteran who could give you quality play as a stopgap. And left tackle, while a legitimate question mark heading into the season, is a position where Braxton Jones, if he can return to the form he showed before injuries derailed his trajectory, gives you more than serviceable play. The floor is passable, the ceiling is solid, and your 3 best offensive linemen are very, very good. Checked. And now we arrive at the part of this video where AJ LeMaestro has to look you directly in the camera and deliver some uncomfortable truth. Because the pass rush situation on this Chicago Bears roster is the one area, the one glaring, undeniable area where Daniel Jeremiah's framework exposes a genuine deficiency. 2 good pass rushers needed. And right now, in the honest light of day, the Bears do not clearly have them. Montez Sweat is the starting point for this conversation, and Sweat is a good football player. He is an 8 to 11 sack per season type of edge rusher who brings real value to this defense. But here is the problem with building your pass rush identity around Montez Sweat. He is your number 2. A guy who produces at that level is an excellent complement to a dominant number 1 pass rusher. He is the Robin to someone else's Batman. The problem is that right now the Batman does not appear to exist on this roster. Dominique Robinson is gone. Grady Jarrett, a player who was genuinely disruptive in his prime, is past those high-end days, and asking him to replicate that production is probably more hope than realistic expectation. Javon Hicks gave you 6 sacks last year, which sounds fine on paper, until you dig into the context and realize that those sacks did not consistently come in the moments that mattered most. 6 sacks that feel like 6 random occurrences rather than 6 products of a dominant, consistent pass rushing presence are not the same thing. Austin Booker is the name that gives me the most optimism in this entire conversation about the pass rush, and I want to spend a moment on him because I think he is genuinely underappreciated in the broader Bears discourse. Booker has the athleticism, the motor, and the developmental trajectory of a player who could take a significant leap in year 2 or 3. If Booker goes out in 2026 and gives you 8, 9, 10 sacks with impact plays in critical moments, and Sweat maintains his production level, then you are having a different conversation about this pass rush by midseason. But me, and this is the honest caveat, banking on that kind of developmental leap from a young, unproven pass rusher is not the same as actually having it. It is potential, not production. And Jeremiah's framework is asking about what you have, not what you might have. So the pass rush, as of today, is a no. A hopeful no. An optimistic no. A no with real upside attached to it. But a no. Which brings us to the 3 defensive playmakers. And this one is where the analysis gets genuinely fascinating, because the answer is neither yes nor no. It is something more complicated and more interesting than either of those clean verdicts. The back 7 of this Chicago Bears defense has the potential to be one of the best units in the entire National Football League. I want to say that clearly and without hedging because I think it is true. Kobe Turner is a player that Dennis Allen's defensive scheme fits like a tailored suit. Devin Bush has shown real quality in recent seasons, and while new scheme transitions always come with uncertainty, the talent is there. The secondary, when healthy, has the playmaking ability to compete with any secondary in the conference. But, and it is a significant but, the injury question marks attached to this unit are not minor footnotes. Kyler Gordon has shown real ability when healthy, but the word when is doing a lot of heavy lifting in that sentence. Jaylon Johnson, a player who was legitimately one of the better corners in the NFL in his best season, is a couple of years removed from that peak performance. and his durability has been a legitimate concern. A rookie in Dante, regardless of how talented he is, comes with the inherent variance of all first-year players, adjusting to the speed and complexity of the professional game. Tyrique Stevenson makes plays. Tyrique Stevenson also gets beaten. And until the consistency is there, you cannot fully rely on him as a locked-in defensive playmaker by Jeremiah's standard. So where does that leave us? It leaves us with a back seven that has a ceiling among the top 5 units in the entire league if everything breaks right, and a floor that lands somewhere around middle of the pack if the injury bug bites or the young players do not develop on schedule. That is an enormous range of outcomes, and that variance is why I cannot stamp a definitive yes on the 3 defensive playmakers box. What I can say is that the potential is absolutely there. The talent is in the building. The coaching staff, and I will get to the coaching staff in just a moment, knows how to develop and deploy it. But potential and certainty are different things, and AJ LeMaestro is not in the business of selling you certainty that does not yet exist. Now, let me talk about something that Daniel Jeremiah's framework does not explicitly measure, but that I believe matters enormously when you are evaluating a team's genuine championship ceiling. Coaching. Ben Johnson is the head coach of this football team, and I want to be unambiguous about something. Ben Johnson is the real deal. He is not a coordinator who got promoted and is hoping to figure it out. He is a genuine offensive visionary who proved in Detroit that he can take an offense and turn it into one of the most creative, efficient, and difficult-to-stop units in professional football. Putting him in charge of an offense that has Caleb Williams, Cole Kmet, Rome Odunze, Luther Burden, DeAndre Swift, and Kyle Monangai is the kind of pairing that makes the rest of the NFC genuinely nervous. Dennis Allen on the defensive side gets more criticism than he deserves from some corners of the Bears fan base, and AJ LeMaestro is going to say that plainly. Allen is an experienced, capable defensive coordinator who understands how to construct a scheme that maximizes the personnel available to him. Is he going to turn a below-average pass rush into an elite 1 through scheme wizardry alone? No. No coordinator is that magical. But he gives you the best possible version of the talent that is in that building, and in a league where coaching quality varies wildly from franchise to franchise, that is genuinely valuable. Add Al Harris into the mix as a defensive asset, and this coaching infrastructure is significantly better than this team has had at any point during the long, painful rebuild years. That matters. It matters in close games, it matters in the playoffs, and it matters when you are evaluating whether a roster with some genuine question marks can overcome those question marks through execution and preparation. So let me bring it all together for you, because here is the honest, complete AJ LeMaestro verdict on whether the Chicago Bears are Super Bowl caliber heading into 2026. Quarterback, yes. Offensive playmakers, yes, with depth to spare. Offensive linemen, yes. Pass rushers, no, with real upside attached to that no. Defensive playmakers, TBD, with a ceiling that is genuinely elite and a floor that is merely adequate. That is the picture. And what that picture tells me is that this team is not quite there yet in the most technical, checklist-based sense of the phrase Super Bowl caliber. But they are close. Closer than they have been in a generation. Closer than most franchises ever actually get. And the gap between where they are today and where they need to be is not an insurmountable one. The pass rush is the critical variable. If Austin Booker takes that developmental leap, and I believe he can, and Montez Sweat maintains his production, and somehow, somewhere, another edge presence emerges from this roster, then by October and November, this team could be having a completely different conversation about its championship ceiling. And if the back seven stays healthy and performs at the upper end of its potential, this defense becomes a genuine strength rather than a liability. Those are real possibilities. Not guaranteed outcomes, but real possibilities backed by real talent. What this Bears team needs more than any single roster move, more than any trade or free agency addition, is health and development on the defensive side of the ball. If the players who have shown the ability to be playmakers can actually stay on the field and play to their capabilities for a full season, Daniel Jeremiah's checklist starts looking a lot more complete by January. And a healthy Bears team with Caleb Williams in year 3, Ben Johnson calling plays, and a defense operating at its ceiling is a team that nobody in this league wants to see in the postseason. I am a believer, Chicago. I am not a blind believer. I am not an irrational believer. I am a believer who has looked at the evidence, applied the framework, and arrived at the conclusion that this franchise is on the right side of history for the first time in a very long time. And that is worth being excited about. Now, before I let you go, I need you to do 3 things. First, smash that like button right now. If this breakdown gave you something to think about, something to argue about, something to feel, then show this channel some love and hit that like. Second, get into the comments immediately and tell me what you think will hold this Bears team back if they fall short this season. Is it the pass rush? Is it the defensive playmaker question marks? Is it something else entirely? I want to hear from every single one of you, because this community is built on real conversation. And third, and while if you are not subscribed to Chicago Bears Hub yet, fix that right now. We are building something special here, and every single subscriber is part of it. Hit subscribe, hit the notification bell. Do not miss a single video. I am AJ LeMaestro. This is Chicago Bears Hub. No filter, no fluff. Just the truth about your